Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to Pairodice Games Monday Night Modern. I am Alex. Joining me is James.
Hello.
And we're going to be bringing you, I believe, 4 rounds of Modern tonight. Starting things off strong here with a little bit of Bryant versus Jesse. We have Snow Herder versus Eldrazi. So you're a little bit more intimate with these two decks than I am. We saw you piloting this Simic Eldrazi with Oko build last week, and you've been known to dabble in a bit of Soul Herder. So why don't you go ahead and talk about these two decks for a moment?
All right. Well, Snow Herder, it's based off this engine, which is really ephemerate, but we'll call it Soul Herder.
Yeah.
And Soul Herder is a 3-mana 1/1 that says at the end of the turn, blink a creature. Whenever a creature's exiled from the battlefield, so Path to Exile will trigger it, Ephemerate will trigger it, Deputy of Detention will trigger it. Get a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yep.
And there's like a niche infinite combo you can do with it. If you have like Time Warp and Ewit, you can just continually get that back.
Bryant does have those pieces in his deck.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting. Regardless, I'm going to take a moment to get ourselves up to date on what's been going on here. So, appears that Jesse started things off with Once Upon a Time, finding a Eldrazi Temple. Then we have Boreal Druid, Eldrazi Temple, Thought Not Seer on the second turn of the game. Turn 2 Thought Not Seer, obviously incredibly powerful. We got to look at Bryant's hand, and Jesse got to take a card from it, though I must admit, can't quite tell what that card was. Hopefully, we'll get some confirmation from the floor what card got taken off of that Thought Not Seer. Oh, it looks to be a Path to Exile. So, Path to Exile was taken. Now, we'll see what Jesse has as a follow-up here. I wonder what he will be deciding to do. I see an Eldrazi Sky Spawner.
We are lacking blue mana to cast it.
Yes, very notably.
Oh, we have a Prismatic Vista, though, and that's easily fixable.
Yeah, a little bit of Ancient Stirrings to start off things here. Obviously, one of the more powerful engines in the deck. And this deck is really fueled by the combination of Ancient Stirrings and Once Upon a Time that really just make your deck, that super efficient, It's basically always going to have the pieces it needs. And here's just Ancient Stirrings, and then
Brian's just over.
Slap the hand down. I assume that this Prismatic Vista will be getting Snow-Covered Island here, but we'll see.
I do not have snow-covered lands in this deck.
Oh, just a normal island.
They just
My
don't
bad.
matter.
Let's go Snow. Hello, Pizza. How you doing this evening? Thank you for tuning in. All right, back over to Bryant. He's got a nice Wall of Blossoms that looks like it's going to be doing a pitiful job blocking all these 4/4s.
Coiling Agricole doing what it does.
Finding the land, pretty good on about that. And of course, he does have an Ephemerate, so he can get a nice little block Ephemerate in. What's up, Gavin? Rooting for Snow, huh? Not a big fan of the Eldrazi. That's pretty lame. Pizza Party.
Pizza Party at Gavin's place.
Yeah. Give me the address. All right, we got a nice Drowner of Hope in Jesse's hand.
Also
That's a sick one.
Also a Reality Smasher.
I'm pretty into both of those.
Yeah.
I think Reality Smasher is probably a little better here. Applies more pressure.
And Ephemerate will make the trample damage over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ephemerate's basically going to be gained for do the Coiling Oracle thing here, which is very good. But obviously it's nothing insane. And we'll see if Bryant elects that now is time for this Wall of Blossoms to get, chumped away, or if he wants to keep it around for a little longer for some extra Soul Herd-esque value.
I'll just swing for the old 13.
No attack with the Boreal Druid seems a little strange to me. I mean, we mentioned that Bryant's play is pretty obviously going to be Coiling Oracle, Ephemerate, block and then Ephemerate my Coiling Oracle. I think that Jesse's just missing a point of damage here, to be honest.
It could also die from the Coiling Oracle, because you can also just as well Ephemerate the Wall of Blossoms.
It's very true, but at that point I think we're just fine with that, right?
Also, I don't know if it doesn't look like we have the next land, so we can cast this Drowner of Hope next turn on curve.
That's pretty relevant. I guess, you don't want to lose it, but still, I think that you're almost always just going to be missing a point of damage there. I think Bryant's probably forced into the line of play that we saw here, and, maybe Bryant elects to just toss the Wall of Blossoms in front of the Boreal Druid instead of jumping away a Thought Not Seer, but I think we're fine with that outcome as well.
Yeah.
So,
Let's see. Ephemerate. It was drawn from the Arkham's Astrolabe.
Yep.
Gonna get a Prayer Stream, or as Legacy players like to call it, a Tundra.
Yeah, so it's always untapped. Well, I mean, you don't even play Tundra anymore in Legacy, so... Oh,
I'm just gonna cast another
yeah,
turn.
this looks like a little bit of an Explore to me. I mean, it's not like we're getting any crazy value off this or anything. We've already resolved both halves of our Ephemerate and all that, so...
he has a Hallowed Fountain Ephemerate and Forest and something else.
I think it's Waterlogged Grove. Yeah, Boreal Druid, not doing much. I tend to agree. So, it looks like Bryant left with just Ephemerate in hand here. And Ephemerate and lands. So, Ephemerate or Coiling Oracle, that'll find us another Coiling Oracle.
Gives
so
us another redraw here.
Yeah, that's not the worst thing ever. It's essentially a draw in 4 life. Because we're going to get to be able to chump away. Ooh, that's a good one. Take these Thought-Knot Seers, draw 2 cards when they leave the battlefield. Ephemerate and Snow-Covered Island. So we still get a nice land for turn. I expect we'll see a tapped land here as Bryant doesn't have anything he needs to represent. And his life total matters quite a bit. So getting in the tapped land with your colors seems pretty relevant. Let's see what he wants to do. Looks like he will go with Untapped Island. So
He can still Arkham's Astrolabe and Ephemerate.
yeah, he's definitely representing a spell here. But I'm not sure if Jesse's really going to be able to play around it too much. It is important that he does have the spell, but we'll see how it goes. So looks like Boreal Druid will tap for the colorless mana to dismember the things. All right, so this is going to get weird. So here comes Thought-Knot Seers. Thought-Knot Seers are going to look at Bryant's hand. They cannot take lands. So Jesse's going to... This is a bit of a weird stack here. So here's what happens. So Jesse's triggers will go on the stack, then Bryant's triggers will go on the stack. Bryant's triggers are actually going to resolve first. But it looks like Bryant is electing to take a Reality Smasher instead of retake both the Thought-Knot Seers.
Well, now they're both Summoning Sickness.
Yeah, which is totally fine. And also, it gets rid of the trample, which is pretty good. Yeah. And, not getting, wrecked by the Thought-Knot Seer activations. But notably, if Bryant were to target those Thought-Knot Seers, he would actually draw 2 cards before Jesse looked at his hand. So then Jesse would be able to strip the cards that he theoretically drew, because Bryant's triggers will resolve first because Jesse's the active player. So definitely an odd sequence there, but it is how that works. So let's see what happens now. Now we've got Ephemerate Deputy of Detention and Ephemerate this. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take those Thought-Knot Seers, draw 2 cards, and then Coiling Oracle will land into play off the second Ephemerate, and then draw for turn. So now we've got things really churning along, and I'm kind of struggling to keep up with all the things that are happening on this page. So I'm going to go ahead and take a deep breath and let's just kind of reevaluate where we're at in the game. Who do you think is ahead right now?
I think, that Reality Smasher is still there.
It is currently.
And 3 Coiling Oracles aren't great blockers for this Reality Smasher.
He did find a Ice Fang Quaddle.
Yeah. Brian's hand is pretty good right now, though.
I think
I tend to say that Brian's ahead at the moment.
I tend to agree. I think he's got a Force of Negation, which isn't the best card against these Eldrazi decks, but does have modes. I mean, we saw a Dismember come out from Jesse there, and if he had had that Force of Negation, then he could have been able to take that out. And obviously, Dismember pretty good if Bryant is missing the 4th copy of Ephemerate, which he currently is. So let's see how this plays out. Here is a Windswept Heath from Bryant. Gonna go ahead and fetch out a nice Snow-Covered Plains. Down to 7 is Bryant. Life total still a pretty big issue. Drowner of Hope coming down next turn probably means that maybe we can find a way to try and chip in the last few points of damage. Drowner of Hope definitely has a way of getting in the last few, so we'll see if that ends up working out for him. Okay. See what else he elects to do here.
2 white. Oh, he's tapping that. Is he just casting the Coatl?
Yeah,
No, another
just,
Coiling
just
Oracle.
another Coiling Oracle. Just gonna spin our wheels. Seems pretty easy.
And the Sky Spawner is flying, which is really relevant.
Yeah, the flying is pretty important right now, and we see Bryant does still have that Ice Fang Coatl. So, you know, that's going to be a pretty good blocker. Is that 4 Coiling Oracles on the battlefield right now for Bryant? An achievement unlocked for Bryant. I'm pretty jealous of that. That looks sick. Let's see what Jesse wants to do here. I mean, it doesn't seem like this would be an easy turn for Jesse. He probably thinks that his Sky Spawner is just going to have to go the distance at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean...
Casting Drowner of Hope here.
Yeah, here's the Drowner of Hope. So let's see if Bryant wants to do anything with this. And let's see, more importantly, if Jesse wants to do anything weird with this one. So obviously when it enters the battlefield, he's going to get 2 1/1 colorless tokens. So we'll see if he wants to do any fun tapping to try and get any of his creatures through. You know, Bryant just has 4 Coiling Oracles, but now with this Drowner of Hope here, he can sacrifice an Eldrazi Scion to like tap down the Ice Fang Coatl that Bryant's going to be flashing in. So this, you know, Sky Spawner attack seems pretty good. It looks like he's just going to go with pre-combat, tap down your 1 Coiling Oracle. That's a little interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, this way, if he flashes in another 1/1 somehow, or the deputy's alive, so they can't kill the reality.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The combat damage on board.
That makes sense. So here's the Ice Fang Coatl.
And they're basically forcing him to block as well.
Yeah, so going ahead, tapping down that Ice Fang Coatl so it cannot trade with a Reality Smasher or anything like that. And it looks like Jesse's even forcing the deputy to get tapped down first. I think that Jesse would prefer to tap down anything other than Deputy of Detention,
so he
right?
Would be forced to block with that.
Yeah, admittedly, this does do more damage effectively because, you know, the deputy has 3 toughness, whereas the Coiling Oracle only has a single. But
yeah,
regardless, we'll see Bryant down to 3. Jesse now out of Eldrazi Scions, so no more ability to tap down blockers. And here is I believe we're going to see the combo here. Yeah. I think Bryant has enough mana to do this infinitely. So yeah, he's going to Eternal Witness, Ephemerate, do that infinite times, and we are done here. Yep.
Yeah. If you just saw Bryant's hand, those were the motions.
Yep. Which means that that is... yeah, you saw the like, you know, show me wax on, wax off there, and that is Bryant's method for taking infinite turns. So... pretty clean victory there at the end for Bryant. It looked like it was going to get kind of hairy with that Drowner Hope in the middle there, but the infinite turns is enough to close everything out. So that's pretty nice. Pretty nice look there for Bryant. Obviously, for those of you who haven't seen that infinite combo, you're basically just looping Eternal Witness, Ephemerate, and Time Warp over and over again. So nothing too crazy. That means that our players will be going to the post board. So
it just costs 6 mana a turn.
Yeah, it costs 6 mana a turn, but obviously when you take infinite turns, you know, Jesse's never going to get to untap or anything like that. So regardless, we're going to take a look at the sideboards here. Over for Bryant with Soul Herder, he's got 1 Thragtusk, 2 Damping Sphere, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Veil of Summer, 1 Vivian, Champion of the Wilds, 2 Weather the Storm, 2 Teferi Time Raveler, 2 Oko Thief of Crowns, and 1 Eidolon of Rhetoric. So I think for Bryant, I am definitely looking to bring in my Thragtusk, try and brawl a little bit with these Eldrazi. Ceremonious Rejection is obviously absurd, assuming that Jesse does not have Cavern of Souls, so that we can, you know, counter these Eldrazi. Vivian, Champion of the Wilds is an interesting one. It, you know, gives your creatures flash, definitely makes it a little bit harder for Jesse to do things, and also draws you some cards. So if you're trying to like grind them out and have a bunch of chump blockers, then that one seems pretty good. Teferi Time Raveler, pretty good at buying you time against these things, and Oko Thief of Crowns is an excellent tool to just turn all of Eldrazi's oversized creatures into 3/3 Elks, which are much more manageable for your, you know, onslaught of 1/1s that chew you guys.
And like getting rid of Trample is huge.
Yeah, so I expect to see some somewhat hefty sideboarding from Bryant. Beef up a little bit, you know, prepare yourself to deal with all the 4/4/5/5 creatures out of Jesse's deck. Meanwhile, over on Jesse's side, he's got 2 Veil of Summer, 2 Damping Sphere, 2 Weather the Storm, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Engineered Explosive, 2 Stubborn Denial, 3 Stubborn Denial, and 2 Disdainful Strokes. So, nice clean sideboard over here. Engineered Explosive stands out to me. That's pretty good. EE for 2 will end up killing most of Bryant's blockers.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of 2-drops on the Eldrazi side.
Yeah, and, mostly you're looking at 1s and 3s for, Jesse's deck, so Engineered Explosives on 2 is a really sweet number. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot here. I mean, Stubborn Denial is no good, pretty much. There's no Collected Company or anything like that. Disdainful Stroke has like 1 target, maybe. Like, Veil of Summer is theoretically doable if you're assuming your opponent is bringing in more counter magic, but I mean, looking at Bryant's actual sideboard, I'm not super happy with that either. I think it might just be 2 Engineered Explosives and run it back.
Yeah, I mean, try to outrace your opponent.
Yeah, and the Stubborn Denials don't look good here either. Like, I'm a little worried about Jesse's post-board matchup here. I felt like he was probably a little bit favored in the first game with his big creatures, but, not being able to take the first game, even with the powerful start that he had with, the double Thought-Knots here and all that, and then, not having a particularly powerful sideboard means that I think we might end up seeing Bryant start kind of running away with this one. So, looks like Gavin in the audience, pretty happy, rooting on his buddy Bryant.
You're rooting
and,
on Snow.
It sounds like Jesse's going to be heartbroken about it. But let's take a look here as the second game begins. Both players taking a look at their opening hands. Looks like keeps on both sides. So we'll see an Eldrazi Temple pass the turn. That's always one of the scariest ways for the Eldrazi decks to open because you're just terrified of getting turn 2 Thought-Knots here.
Yeah, turn 2 Thought-Knot is pretty good.
Ooh, and it looks like he has it.
Turn 2 Thought-Knot's pretty good.
Yeah, so let's take a look at Bryant's hand. We've got 4 lands, Ephemerate, Soul Herder, and
Wall of Blossoms?
I believe that is a Wall of Blossoms. That sounds right to me. So the lands look pretty standard. It's just a Waterlogged Grove's really the only standout there. So turn 2, no waiting on the Thought-Knots here. Hey, I mean, last game we saw Bryant beat turn 2 Thought-Knots or turn 3 Thought-Knots here as well. So,
but I don't think Bryant's hand was so land flooded as it was.
Yeah, this one's not super impressive, unfortunately, for Bryant. So we'll see Jesse go ahead and exile the Ephemerate. He doesn't want to be dealing with that. I think I agree on that front. An Eternal Witness and a Soul Herder are the leftovers, and they're pretty good, but it's nothing insane. Meanwhile, Bryant ripped a nice Coiling Oracle off the top. These snakes love him. Yeah, and even ramped him one. Yeah, feeling great about that, I think.
No, it's good.
Yeah, that was an excellent draw there for Bryant, and it even found him a land, so really turning out well. Oh, boy.
Yeah, we're just going.
Oh, boy. This is the modern power level you look for when you sign up to play these Eldrazi decks. You see these starts in your dreams, and you just hope that they're real. So Bryant all the way down to 10 already. Jesse, of course, still at 20. Hasn't taken any damage. Do not call an Emissary of Kozilek shrimp.
Let's see what Brian's up to now. Probably jamming a Soul Herder, if I had to imagine. Maybe a Wall of Blossoms as well. He has the mana for it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like probably where we're at. I mean, he's only got 4 mana this turn because
he has not played a land drop.
Well, his Coiling Oracle ramped him from 2 to 3.
Oh, sure. Maybe
so this turn he'll have 4. Yeah.
Okay.
So, unless the Coiling Oracle finds him something he can use his mana for, which, of course, this comes in at the end step, so, he's not going to be able to cast the Wall of Blossoms still. But, I'd expect to see this Coiling Oracle kind of just jumping in front of this Thought-Knots here. It's not like, it's not like we can die.
Yeah.
Which would be the alternative, so let's see what Jesse's got. Another Reality Smasher would just seal the deal here, I would think. Ooh, maybe Bryant has an Ice Fang Quaddle in his hand nowadays? That would be quite good for Bryant if he has that.
Yeah.
Looks like he's fetching down to 8. Oh, here it comes. With Flash, Ice Fang Quaddle enters the battlefield. And looks like it's just going to be jumping in front of, presumably, this Thought-Knot here. And then I expect Bryant to just go ahead and take the 5 from Reality Smasher. It's pretty awkward because you can't just block the Reality Smasher and the Thought-Knot Seer and live with just, the 2 creatures or whatever, because you're taking the 4 points of trample from the Reality Smasher, and unfortunately that land cost us 1 life, so...
You're casting Oko here.
Yeah, Oko is going to turn Soul Herder into an Elk. It does still retain the +1/+1 counter, though, so it's now a nice 4/4 Elk. So that's pretty good for Bryant, and now he's at least got a pretty reasonable double block on the Reality Smasher, assuming Jesse doesn't have a powerful follow-up.
How are we casting this? Oko.
I believe that Jesse sacrificed a Prismatic Vista for turn, and he just hasn't fetched out the land yet.
There we go.
Just a little bit of shortcutting from Jesse.
Just didn't see that.
Yeah, and now we're going to send it back over to Bryant. All right, Snow-Covered Forest was the draw for Bryant. Let's see how he decides to follow up. I'm hoping that Bryant finds some way to stabilize here, or that Jesse finds some way to pull ahead. Without rooting for a particular side, it looks like we're in a pretty close stalemate here, and the game's probably going to hinge on the next turn or two, whether or not Bryant just dies in the meantime, or if Bryant can find a way to deal with the Oko. That's another problem. But it looks like Eladamri's call for Deputy of Detention will deal with the Reality Smasher right now, and with no elk, or with no artifacts or creatures or anything like that on Jesse's side of the battlefield, Bryant doesn't have to be too scared of any, hasty elks or anything like that, so he can probably go ahead and get a nice attack in here at the Oko as well. Obviously, if Jesse had a Reality Smasher, we would have seen it by now.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
Looks like Bryant agrees. He'll go ahead and send the 5 damage at the Oko, get it off the battlefield. Just going to hope to dodge a Reality Smasher. Jesse could find it off this Ancient Stirrings, and that would be lethal. He looks like he's just going to go ahead and do it face up. Face up Ancient Stirrings. Let's see if we could slam the Reality Smasher in our opponent's face for BM, but looks like that's a no-go. Means that Bryant's going to get to keep playing. And from this point, we expect Bryant to start taking control.
Correct.
This is presumably not going to be a huge turn for Jesse. He's probably just going to play a couple dorks, dumb, dirtily creatures, nothing super impactful. And, even with Bryant's somewhat subpar hand, he's got Eladamri's Call. He can go get another Soul Herder and start trying to, really gain a lot of value. So Jesse will crack his fetch land. He's going to put himself at a lower life total. Another Oko in hand for Jesse. Looks like we will see that. What do you think this Oko's doing now?
Making a food.
Seems likely to me. Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're obviously not turning Deputy of Detention into an Elk. That's really bad.
Yeah.
Same with Coiling Oracle. That's really bad too. So just make a nice food token. Hopefully you could end up there.
I don't see a world. Or is he pongifying this Deputy?
Could he have cast a Boreal Druid or Stirrings? I'm not certain if he could have done one or the other. I didn't get a good look at his hand, but he could have had a Boreal Druid. But I think I like the Ancient Stirrings line anyway. I mean, if you find Reality Smasher there, you just kill your opponent, and I think the game's kind of getting away from you.
To 1, because Deputy has 3 toughness.
Yeah, but that's true.
Hopefully on the
that's
following
pretty much good enough, I would assume, So I think I do agree with Jesse's line of trying to dig for the win, or at least very close to. We see Eladamri's Call in Bryant's hand means that he could have theoretically found a second Deputy of Detention and tried to deal with both the Reality Smashers in that fashion, assuming he has a second Deputy of Detention. But we'll see what he ends up finding now. I believe that's Eternal Witness was the draw for Bryant. That one pretty good. Oh, last turn, Jesse tapped Yavimaya Coast and Forest for Oko. Got it. I see what you mean. I'm not sure. Admittedly, I was not paying the closest of attention to that particular sequencing, so yeah, when you could have tapped Double Temple. I mean, you do have to tap 2 colored sources for your Oko, so I'm not entirely sure. Alright, well, here is Eladamri's Call for Stonehorn Dignitary. Stonehorn Dignitary is going to be able to make sure that Jesse's not going to get a combat step on his next turn, and then just a nice attack for 6 at the Oko. And now if Bryant can end up finding a soul herder or something like that, he can try and effectively lock Jesse out of being able to cast his of being able to attack for the rest of the game. So that seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Here's Matter Shaper and a Boreal Druid from Jesse. And now we'll see if Bryant can find a way to, just really take a stranglehold control over this game.
Yeah, he looks like he's getting on that way pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we're one haymaker away from being there. Soul Herder here would, I think, basically do it. Eternal Witness is pretty close, because Eternal Witness, finds Eladamri's Call.
Yeah.
And here comes the Soul Herder, I assume.
I think Eternal Witness just does it here.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think we're...
now we have the Soul Herder lock. So Jesse now has to find a piece of removal in order to, break this Soul Herder chain with the Stonehorn Dignitary. And we'll see if he can actually find it, before Brian just ends up killing him. Which it should happen pretty soon, right? I mean, he's got a nice Matter Reshaper on defense here and a food token to gain some life. But all things considered, he's way behind on board.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so the damage should start flowing. So we'll see. Here's Brian's end step. He'll flicker the Soul Herder, or he will Soul Herder the Stonehorn Dignitary. Means that Jesse can't attack again. Jesse, just with one card in hand, took a draw step for turn and then shipped it back. We didn't get a good look at what his card was, unfortunately. And now we can just see Bryant churning through his library once again. Pretty normal play pattern for these Soul Herder decks.
Yeah.
They're kind of always just flipping through their library, trying to find the thing they need.
Yeah, exactly.
These decks are really fun. Ooh, Time Warp. That's a pretty good one, I would argue.
And he has an Ewit on the battlefield.
He has an Ewit in his hand as well. So now he's just looking for an Ephemerate to demonstrate the loop again.
All he has to do is cast Time Warp, and then he can bounce.
Oh yeah, he doesn't
with Soul Herder.
Yeah, he doesn't need the
yeah,
the Ephemerate either, because he just has the.
He just has the loop on board.
Yeah, he just has the loop. He just needs to see it. So I believe we should see Bryant end up winning this match here in pretty convincing fashion here. Actually, going, we mentioned the like finicky combo a little bit at the start of this match, but it looks like a pretty easy 2-0 here, demonstrating this combo twice here to get the victory over Jesse in the first round. And we see Jesse picking up his cards as he knows what's happening here. So it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was sweet. It seems like Eldrazi always has a problem going with these go wide, stupid 1/1 decks.
Yeah, I could totally buy that. Yeah,
the only reach is like trample off Reality Smasher.
Yeah,
and if your opponent is playing interaction as well with those creatures, then
we're just roasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, you're trying to just play overcosted threats and get or undercosted threats and get your opponent dead with them.
Yeah,
and when your opponent's just like, all right, I got this dumb 1/1 and I'm gonna block with it. And I'm just gonna keep doing that over and over again, and neutral card advantage, and eventually I'm gonna find an answer to that. Means that pretty efficient turns from Bryant, and spent all of his mana every turn. He managed to find his lands. He didn't get screwed either game or flood either game, so he took that down pretty handily, I'd say. So with that, I would like to go ahead and thank our first sponsor for the stream, Tabletop. Tabletop is the best in board game apparel. They're a clothing brand, and they make awesome stuff. If you are looking to show off, your love for board games or tabletop role-playing games or that type of thing, Tabletop is the way to do it. Also, the holidays are coming up, so if you're looking to buy something for, a friend, family, loved one, anything like that, and that they're into board games and all that type of stuff, I highly recommend the Tabletop sweaters. I know that they make excellent gifts for a boyfriend because they're super comfortable, and then you get to end up wearing them as pajamas. So I've heard that from multiple sources, so I highly recommend you take that into consideration. But anyways, thank you so much to Tabletop for supporting the stream. We're going to leave you with some hot damn scandal while we try and go get a secondary match on stream, but regardless, we won't be gone for long, so make sure you don't go anywhere.
The bottom fell out of the clouds today, and the rain came down like a mirror. One big sheet and it shattered on the ground. Now it's 7 years of bad luck all over this town. It's collection time on all of your debts, and you can't get by just talking. Your smile don't work, and your car don't start, and your doors ain't keeping you alone. No, not even if you lock them. No, not even if you lock them. When you're tapped into that vita vein, just about anything feels good. Shining on a lost boy's eyes, they reflected oh so pretty. But it's cold behind them golden shores, and the sweet light wasn't nothing more than their own damn wishing, 'cause they just don't listen. Now wish on your candles, pray to your God, cry for your mama, put $1 on the bar. It feels like breathing, but the only good feeling ain't a gamble, is a sin. So I think I'll play it safe and get a gin. I'll take the devil for a spin. When you're tapped into that vita vein, just about anything feels good. For some the morning brings another day, but all it does for me is shine an ugly light around in the room that I've been hiding in. Now I take the easy way, yeah, that gets harder every day. But I ain't here to fix myself, I'm just trying to blind these eyes from hell. When you're tapped into that vita vein, just about anything feels good. Bottom of the barrel. I like to sleep in hidey holes and barroom stalls. I like to hear the piano playing in the bloody little dawn. I like to wake up with the devil and drink him till he's gone. The queen is drunk and someone armed the pawns. an acquired taste of vice I've never thought to own. There is no cleaner left, so we filter it through cigarettes. For the gambler's mercy keeps us blind and fade. relying on my bruises, defined my edges against skies of gray. But now my worries are all far away. The sky is clear, and I begin to fade. Once I believed in paradise, a place where I would never feel no pain, a state of mind I'd never have to change. But now it all looks alright, and I begin to fade. Trouble, I need you. I don't know what I am, but I ain't nothing without these blues. I've heard a million happy endings. I've seen the good guys win, I've seen the bad guys pay. But now I never read that final page, 'cause in that sunset ride, yeah, I begin to fade. Trouble, I need you. I don't know what I am, but I ain't nothing without these blues. There's heaven for the hopeless, a place where we can all still wax and wane, a place where cloudy skies can still bring rain. So in my shaking faith, I clasp my hands and pray. I pray for trouble.
Gonna be annoying.
Alrighty, hello and welcome back for the second round of Modern here at Pairodice Games. We have Brad versus Nick here for our second match. A little bit of Amulet Titan versus Burn. This one ought to be fun. This matchup depends quite heavily on how prepared the Amulet Titan player is, for the matchup. In my experience, I started by thinking this matchup was just heavily Amulet Titan favored. And the more I played it, the more I kind of started to dislike that initial opinion. Kind of similar to when I was playing Jund, and it feels like Burn can definitely just take some matches off you. And, Burn can't beat Amulet Titan's best draws. Amulet Titan can beat Burn's best draws, so that's probably a lot where that came from. But still, it feels like if you don't have your effective copies of Radiant Fountain and, Kabir Crossroads or whatever, or you don't have, Arboreal Grazers or that type of thing, you might be in a difficult spot. So, speak of the devil, we see Brad's hand. It does have Arboreal Grazer and some lands, but other than that, I don't think he actually has any payoffs. There might be a Primeval Titan somewhere in that hand I didn't see, but it looks like mulligan to 6 for both players. Brad will go ahead and slap a Pact of Negation on the bottom of his library. Oh, there is a Primeval Titan in this hand, so that's pretty important. Being on the play, very important in this matchup, as we see Nick's going to go ahead and crack a Wooded Foothills for a mountain and send his Monastery Swiftspear into the red zone. So 19 all, and we'll send it back to Brad. If Brad has an untapped green source, we'll likely see our Arboreal Grazer on turn 1, but he doesn't. That's a pretty unfortunate miss. A lot of the matchups where it feels like you can just never win are the ones where Burn's on the play and it Searing Blazes your Sakura Tribe Scout on turn 1. Mm-hmm. When that happens, you feel like you can never win. Let me tell you. All right, but
see, Nick shocking in the Sacred Foundry.
Yeah, so definitely going to have a nice follow-up here on the second turn of the game. I think for Brad's sake, he's hoping it's just like a Boros Charm or something like that, and definitely hoping to dodge something like Goblin Guide Monastery Swiftspear or, Goblin Guide Lightning Bolt, that type of thing. Looks like attack for 1 probably is a good start for Brad. So
looks like we're
a little bit
post-hasting this Skewer the Critic.
Yeah, we got to get our Spectacle. Amulet of Vigor, the draw there for Brad. That's definitely a good one. It's going to allow him to try and power out some of these cards, so we'll see how this goes. He's going to start with Sunhome, Fortress of the Legion. Then he'll go ahead and cast an Arboreal Grazer, floating a colorless mana, pick up his Sunhome, Fortress of the Legion, and then go ahead and cast his Amulet of Vigor. If he'd done it in the other order, he could have ended up with this Growth Chamber untapped, but not a huge difference. It's not like he has any relevant spells. So, welcome to Nick's upkeep. He's going to have to decide where this Rift Bolt goes. So, this Arboreal Grazer is doing a great job stonewalling this Monastery Swiftspear. So, it's basically going to be eating 3 damage either way. Mm-hmm. If Nick, points a burn spell at Brad's face after he blocks, that's 3 damage. Or if he decides to not do that, then that's, it's going to eat 2 damage this turn and then more damage later. So, I agree with Nick's decision to just go ahead and burn spell it then. Ooh, we see an Iona. Shield of Ameria in Brad McCarter's hand here.
Iona name red.
Seems pretty good in this matchup. So here we see Castle Garenbrig going ahead and making 6 mana for giant creature spells. And here comes Primeval Titan. I'm expecting to see the normal Kabir Crossroads Radiant Fountain and all that. And oh my, I think I'm seeing quite a bit of spice in that Amulet Titan list as he just flicked through it a little bit there. Mm-hmm. I saw Gifts Ungiven, some Elish Norns, I believe, as well.
Yeah,
or at least an Elish Norn.
Probably in a Burial Rites, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would assume so as well. So it looks like Brad's playing this Amulet Titan with the Gifts Ungiven package. That seems pretty sweet, at the very least. I'm not confident that it's better than the stock Amulet Titan list, but it's definitely an extra threat, and you usually, when you're playing Amulet Titan, you do look for extra threats. So we'll see what he finds. It looks like no life gain land, just a Colony Garden and a Selesnya Sanctuary. That's pretty worrisome. Of course, Nick's going to take 8 here, so, that's a big chunk, and, a 0/1 plant token will come along and help him block. So presumably Nick's not going to be able to get through with any type of ground creature, any type of creatures anymore. He's just going to need to burn Brad out. And I think with only 2 cards in hand and lethal attacker on board, that is going to do it. And we'll see Brad take game number 1 there with just a pretty traditional Amulet Titan draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it looks like...
I mean, he just casted the Primeval Titan.
Yeah, and that was...
Pasted it, went to town.
And that was all there was to it, so yeah. Looks like he's got some spice in his deck list, but apparently none needed here for him to take down Nick in the first game. Let's take a look at the sideboard here for Brad. Brad has 1 Hornet Queen, 1 Pact of Negation, 1 Reclamation Sage, 2 Force of Vigor, 1 Engineered Explosives, 3 Obstinate Baloth, 2 Tireless Tracker, 1 Terastodon, 1 Rurik Thar the Unbowed, 1 Field of the Dead, and 1 Cavern of Souls. What sounds good here?
That's a good
The Obstinate
question.
Baloths are slam dunks.
Yeah,
right?
clearly that.
Yeah, we can start there. Engineered Explosives on the draw can actually be too slow, somewhat awkwardly, which is pretty unfortunate, but still I wouldn't be surprised to see that come in. There's usually at least one in the main and a second one in the side, so if you want to try and deal with some of the early 1-drop aggressive creatures and try and save yourself some life total, that one seems pretty reasonable. Other than that, I think that's basically all I'm here for.
I would not board in anything else here.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing that's somewhat appealing is the Rurik Thar, and I just don't think that's what you want to be doing.
Yeah, tend to agree. All right, so let's take a look over at Nick's side on Burn. He has 3 Path to Exile, 3 Core Firewalker, 1 Searing Blood, 4 Skullcrack, and 4 Smash to Smithereens. What sounds good here?
He could be tempted to bring in the Smash to Smithereens to get the Amulet Titan off the board.
The Amulet of Vigors,
off the
yeah.
board. Path of Exile's clearly a pick here to get his 6/6s off the battlefield. And his Iona just doesn't shut off his deck at that point.
Yeah, I don't think he saw any of that package.
But he didn't see that, so he wouldn't be prepared
probably is not expecting anything like that.
But he's still bringing them in regardless, so it's something to think about from our perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Skullcrack is definitely something that I think you normally want against Amulet Titan, but he did watch Brad
get 2 sets of lands, and none of them
gained life.
Yep.
So, you could probably assume that Brad doesn't have any life gain lands in his list, because if he has, you certainly would have seen them. Mm-hmm. And I think that is basically what's going on. We see Brad being a nice guy, showing the camera. He's boarding out Elishnorn, Field of the Dead. I believe that was 2 Azuzas and an Engineered Explosives, and bringing in, I believe that was 3 Obstinate Baloths, and I didn't see the others, unfortunately, but I think it's presumably 2 more cards. So
I tend to believe.
Probably Rurik Thar and maybe, obviously not the Engineered Explosives. It looks like he brought one out instead of potentially bringing the second one in, which I talked about. So an interesting decision there. You do need ways to deal with the early aggressive creatures, and I mentioned that Engineered Explosives can actually just be too slow on the draw sometimes, but hopefully you're looking for more aggressive hands. You have to mulligan your really slow hands against Burn, whereas against some decks you can keep the 5 landers with an Azusa on turn 3 or 4 or whatever, and just kind of get there. But that's not the type of game plan you can play against Burn.
Mm-mm.
So
Burn will kill you by turn 4.
Burn will kill you, yeah, absolutely. So let's see how the second game plays out. Nick will, of course, be on the play again. Winning a game on the draw is a pretty big deal in this matchup. And of course, Brad does need to be very worried about deflecting Palm in post-board games. Now, we didn't see any in Nick's sideboard.
We did not.
But it is a very common Burn sideboard card, and it is usually the most important card to play around and have in your mind in this matchup in the post board. In game 1, you don't have to be too worried about it, although I have seen some mad lads with main deck deflecting Palms, but in game 2, it's very common, so you really need to be careful about whether or not you're actually just supposed to attack with your Primeval Titan. Oftentimes, you want to be able to, attack with your Primeval Titan and have a Pact of Negation up to be able to not die to it, or, maybe you just have some chump attacks in with some Obstinate Baloths or something like that, so Deflecting Palm doesn't just kill you. But it's a really awkward push and pull between, well, I'm at I'm at 6, like if I attack with this Titan and he has Deflecting Palm, I'm dead, but if I don't attack with this Titan and he has 2 burn spells, I'm dead, like, what do I do? And that's usually a pretty tough decision in these post-board games, and of course, Nick doesn't have any Deflecting Palms, but I would still expect to see Brad play, assuming he did.
But we have seen Hallie here a couple times, and she mainboarded those Deflecting Palms.
Yeah, she's had mainboard Deflecting Palms, so that's pretty ridiculous. So here we see turn 1 Mountain and a Goblin Guide revealing Primeval Titan there for Brad. Brad has a nice little hand. He's got a Sakura Tribe Scout, an Amulet of Vigor, Cavern of Souls, a couple lands, a couple Primeval Titans, even an Obstinate Baloth in there. So feeling pretty good about this hand, I think Brad likely is. I would expect to see... looks like he's going to start with Misty Rainforest, presumably just taking 1 and grabbing a forest. I don't think we're really in the business of fetch shock here against burn.
I would not like to be.
Yeah, especially when we have lands that could cost us less life than that. So here comes Snow-Covered Forest. Of course, various land names in the deck to promote the Field of the Dead engine. The Field of the Dead mistake, yeah. Fair point. Of course, Field of the Dead, Once Upon a Time. A couple key cards in this deck found their end in a Pioneer earlier today, which
tragic.
Maybe we'll find some time to talk about that in a little bit. But for now, we're playing Modern, so no need to worry about these Pioneer bans just yet. Here's Inspiring Vantage from Nick, and a Monastery Swiftspear, Lightning Bolt, your Sakura Tribe Scout, attack for 4, Arboreal Grazer on top. That's not a bad one to have on top, but still, this is a blistering fast start from Nick, and I'm not sure that we're going to be able to see Brad recover. Usually these are the type of draws from Burn where it's really hard to win. All right, here is Amulet of Vigor from Brad. Selesnya Sanctuary is going to come in untapped and go ahead and return the forest to hand. Here's Arboreal Grazer. It's going to put a Bojuka Bog into play and send the turn back over to Nick. Looks like
Bojuka Bog should be untapped.
Should be untapped, correct, but not a big deal. So it's obviously doesn't matter at all.
It looks like Brad is pointing that out.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not like Brad's holding up any funny business, nor is Nick going to play around any funny business. So, oh boy. So here are 2 triggers. Primeval Titan revealed for both. Not quite what Brad's looking for. I think Brad looking for more lands, to be honest. Here is block on a Goblin Guide. Pretty obvious one, I would say, from Brad. Arboreal Grazer doing his best, his damnedest so far, but we'll see if he can keep up. Here is Obstinate Baloth. It's going to gain Brad 4 life, put him back up to 14. And now I feel all right if I'm Brad,
Yeah, he's got 2 good blockers.
Riftbolt just goes upstairs, means that Nick's probably mostly given up on plan attack. So we'll see how this goes. Castle Garenbrig to hand Azusa on top. That's a good one for sure. That's actually a good 2, I think. Yeah. So here is 2 blocks lined up. Go ahead and block the Goblin Guide, block a Monastery Swiftspear, and then go to damage. So this is 2 spells. What happened here? Was that?
That was
it was 3 spells for 3 spells for turn. So Monastery Swiftspear turned into a 4/5 and just ate the Obstinate Baloth. Well, you hate to see that. So here we've got Castle Garenbrig making the 6th mana for Primeval Titan. Turns out that Castle Garenbrig was exactly what Brad needed to be able to cast that Primeval Titan. Let's see what he goes and finds here. He's got the Amulet of Vigor, so he can get in a nice attack for free, essentially, with the Slayer Stronghold Boros Garrison. But after that, Nick only has 1 card in hand, and if Brad doesn't have a life gain land, which, again, we're assuming he does not, then Brad's probably just going to die to basically anything that isn't just another land. And obviously Nick's last card in hand isn't a land, because he hasn't played a land all game. So
correct.
We'll see if Brad can manage to find a way out of this, but I think I'll be rather impressed if he has one. And Nick just shows him the Boros Charm, like, yeah, good luck dealing with this. I don't think that Brad has any outs to it, but we'll see if he can find one. Yep, looks like Brad agrees. He's got no way outs. Just a little bit too fast there from Nick. And that triple burn spell turn where the Monastery Swiftspear ate Obstinate Baloth was brutal. That was really gross.
Nick drew 3 cards named Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, and just cast them all. Yep.
Yeah, which was really good.
Pretty good. So, back to the sideboards. Looks like neither player taking a reevaluation. Nick still hasn't seen any of the Gifts Ungiven package out of Brad's deck, and, well, Brad still hasn't seen any of it out of his deck, so...
Yeah, I would like to see it game 3.
Yeah, I mean, if he can just get a nice, like, turn 3, turn 4, Gifts Ungiven, untap, Unburial Rites Iona or something like that, that's probably just lights out. I mean, we do see Path to Exile out of Nick's deck, but Iona naming red, if you don't have Path to Exile, we're done here.
Yeah,
There's only 3 of them. Who knows how many Nick boarded in. He might not have even had any on the draw or on the play. I assume he's going to need some on the draw. Amulet Titan is a fast enough deck most of the time that you are going to need to try to deal with a Primeval Titan before the game ends. And Burn can do that. Oftentimes it just results in, all right, here's my Primeval Titan, gain 2 life or whatever, and then they're like, all right, untap, kill you. It's kind of the normal way that most of the time that they deal with it. Or I mentioned Deflecting Palm a little bit, Path to Exile on the sideboard, another good method. So we'll have to see how this third game plays out. Also, a notable absence of Searing Blaze out of Nick's deck. Pretty important card in the matchup. Allows you to slow down the Amulet Titan deck as well as progress your game plan. And I found is one of the most important cards for Nick in the matchup. Similarly, Eidolon of the Great Revel, quite good on the play. Usually deals 4 damage at least to your opponent on Amulet Titan, but on the draw, usually not going to be nearly as effective. So it looks like Brad has the Unburial Rites in his hand this game. I think I see an Obstinate Baloth, an Amulet of Vigor, and some lands as well. Looks like it's lacking too much acceleration here on Brad's side, but it does look like he has the pieces he's looking for. Alright, here comes Goblin Guide. Looks like Brad's going to go ahead and fetch before the trigger resolves, so that he can go ahead and get the land he needs for his colors, without having to, see a good card he wants on top and then not be able to find his mana sources. So, a little bit of heads up shuffling there. Arboreal Grazer. That's a pretty good card to see on top, I think, for Brad. I think Brad's quite happy to see that one. It's going to ramp him 1, and it's probably just going to eat a burn spell from Nick, and that seems excellent for me. So here comes that Arboreal Grazer. Oh, Amulet of Vigor, excuse me. And here is the Arboreal Grazer, putting a Selesnya Sanctuary into play. It'll pick up Forest, send it back over to Nick. Of course, nothing to do quite yet with our Selesnya Sanctuary, but, nothing wrong with holding up a little bit of Path to Exile action. That's definitely a card that some Amulet Titan lists have in their sideboard these days, so it's less true since the printing of Once Upon a Time and Castle Garenbrig. Most Amulet Titan lists have shifted to just blue-green. Yeah. Whereas before you would be a blue-green base with a red splash or a white splash for the sideboard cards you needed, but now it feels like your combo is just powerful enough that you end up just having the 2 colors, and you have your little splashes in the middle there to be able to activate your Boros or your Selesnya. Oh man, to be able to activate your Slayer Strongholds and your Sun Home and all that.
No attacks from Nick here.
Yeah, it looks like
drawing him a card.
Yeah, it looks like. I mean, if you aren't going to do anything with the to get rid of the Arboreal Grazer, then it's not like you have any good attacks, unfortunately. Here's Obstinate Baloth, but it looks like Brad might not have any lands to follow it up with, so...
he played his Forest for turn.
Yeah, I'm worried about him being able to cast further lands, or to be able to play further lands, so... Speak of the devil, here is Riftbolt taking out Arboreal Grazer, means despite the existence of Obstinate Baloth, Nick is going to want to try to attack some more this game. So here comes Monastery Swiftspear. We saw that pretty insane turn last game from Nick, which was mostly game-winning. Ooh, Nick does have the Path to Exile in his hand. He's probably pretty tempted to just get this Obstinate Baloth out of the way, but it's really dangerous. You ramp your opponent 1 in the face of, potential Primeval Titan next turn, even with just a regular untapped land. But now we see Brad draws the Simic Growth Chamber, so this will put him to 6 mana this turn. If he has the Primeval Titan to cast. So looks like he does in fact have it. And now, this is exactly when you need to start worrying about Deflecting Palm. Because now if you just, like, try and chunk in for 8 and then get aided by a Deflecting Palm, you could end up losing the game pretty rapidly. And also you have to worry about Path to Exile, too, because if you go to, you know, find these 2 lands and then try and haste your Titan and attack, and then it gets Path to Exiled, and then you end up not having any type of like, follow-up, now you're kind of in trouble, too. But you know, here we see the Path to Exile, so let's hope that Brad does have a plan for if this attack didn't go through, because oftentimes, you know, you'll see, you know, attack, all right, go get a Teleria West and a bounce land, and then now I have more of a plan. But if you go for this attack and then it doesn't work, well, now you don't have any more follow-up. Your kind of chain, your engine gets broken up. So we're hoping here from Brad's side that he has a plan to deal with the disruption here from Nick's side. So Nick does get rewarded for holding on to that Path to Exile. All right, Boros Charm, Eidolon of the Great Revel, I believe another Rift Bolt, and I think maybe even a second Boros Charm are the cards in hand for Nick. What do you think we're supposed to do here? Are we just, you know, jamming out some burn spells at our opponent's face here? Looks like Eidolon of the Great Revel and suspend Rift Bolt. No attacks from Nick.
You should take a damage from that canyon.
Yeah, he does need to take 1 damage from Sunbaked Canyon to do this, obviously. Here is
Breeding Pool.
Breeding Pool tapped, untap, trigger from Amulet of Vigor, obviously. So no need to take that 2 damage there. Nice heads up play from Brad. And now we're stuck with, it looks like we're just going to start chipping in there for 6 with our Obstinate Baloth. And Nick under his own, you know, Eidolon of the Great Revel means that this is a pretty reasonable beatdown plan that Brad's got all of a sudden. So here's, you know, Rift Bolt going upstairs. Brad will take 3, Nick will take 2. Lava Spike, Brad will take 3, Nick will take 2. And with the 6 power beater with Vigilance, like, I think Brad's just going to win the race, you know? Like, Nick's all the way down to 9. And, you know, that's 1 attack with Obstinate Baloth plus just, you know, tap my Sunbaked Canyon away from being able to not cast spells. I mean, if Nick doesn't block on his next turn, he's just going to be locked out of casting more than 1 spell for the rest of the game. Pretty big deal. We'll see if he wants to get aggressive here at all. Looks like he does, but interestingly enough, doesn't risk the
Eidolon?
The Eidolon of the Great Revel. And interestingly enough, I think Brad's blocking the Monastery Swiftspear. I don't love this block from Brad. I think I would just be happy to take a little bit of extra damage here instead of be willing to get my Obstinate Baloth eaten, because it already has 2 prowess triggers on it, right? So a 3rd spell here means that Brad's Obstinate Baloth is just going to get eaten, and now we're really in the shitter, actually.
And we don't... Oh, he has an Aether Hub. He'll just cast the Unburial Rites from his hand, get the Obstinate Baloth. That give it
sick.
+2/+0 and haste.
That's sick, actually. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely right there.
And Nick took 3 from that Boros Charm, right?
He did.
Yeah, so he should be at 6.
He's going to have to chump with his Eidolon of the Great Revel, which I'm sure he's going to be happy to do. But that is pretty sick. So here's the Aether Hub. Of course, Brad pretty low already. That Boros Charm did do 4 damage to him. Mm-hmm. It's quite a bit. So here is Unburial Rites, my Obstinate Baloth. Gain 4 life. Nick's probably like, what the heck is happening right now? You give it +2/+0 Vigilance and Haste. Eat your Eidolon. Go. And now Nick stuck here with 2 cards in hand after a draw step. He does have a Sunbaked Canyon as a redraw, so that's nice. And of course, his spells are unbound now because the Eidolon of the Great Revel has moved to the graveyard. Brad, he does have the ability to cast his Pact of Negation and pay for it. He's got the requisite blue mana. Looks like Nick's going to start his turn off sacrificing Sunbaked Canyon to draw a card. I think he's got 2 lands in Mountain and Sunbaked Canyon in his hand, as well as a Lightning Bolt, if I am correct. It's kind of hard to get a good look at it, so I could be mistaken there. But here is Mountain, and here, Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Unlocked himself again?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just going to block, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would imagine. Ooh,
is that a Gifts Ungiven?
That is Gifts Ungiven. So I would expect an attack to start the turn off here from Brad, and then probably going ahead and finding...
if I count my mana right, Like, I would like to just cast
Oh,
gifts
and kill my
Unburial Rites
opponent?
and
Yeah,
Elishnorn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Elishnorn's still in our deck.
No, it's not. correct.
Iona, however, if we give Iona haste, we could win the game, but I'm not certain that is what's happening. Looks like Brad's just going for the value gifts package here. So it looks like he had a couple lines there with that gifts ungiven.
Mm-hmm.
He could have chosen to just go get Iona and put it in my graveyard and then bring it back from the graveyard, and that Iona naming red seems excellent there. You basically lock your opponent out. And then there's also the line of go ahead and just value gifts between Obstinate Baloth, a Summoner's Pact, a Primeval Titan, and then like a Teleria West or something like that. Yeah. And then no matter what Nick gives you then you can Unburial Rites the cards he doesn't give you, or just cast them if he does give you the Primeval Titan or the Obstinate Baloth. So obviously Nick sees the writing on the wall. He knows he can't beat any of what's going on over there.
Whatever big creature
Brad's
is coming
package.
out,
Yeah,
he
and
can
I
hardly beat this Baloth.
I assume the fourth card Brad was going to get there was Iona as well. Yeah. So whether assumedly Iona will go into Brad's hand and then he'll just like reanimate a Primeval Titan or something like that, or just cast it, and that's plenty good. So
yeah, that'll do the trick.
Yeah, definitely a pretty sweet showing there from Brad. An excellent take on the extra threats that Amulet Titan needs. I mean, people always know that the Primeval Titan engine is powerful, but it's usually just not quite enough cards to fill the full 60 card deck effectively. That, and it's a little too easily disrupted if your only threat is Primeval Titan. Yeah. So
also, Brad is still playing the Field of Dead in this deck, which
Field of Dead, very important.
Plagued Amulet Titan, and by plague I mean gave it a blessing.
Yeah. It's definitely given you a second angle of attack that was very much needed with just the Primeval Titan plan. So that has become most people's primary second win con, but even then you'll still often see cards like a main deck Hornet Queen or something along those lines to try and close out games if, for whatever reason your Primeval Titan isn't going to do the trick.
Yeah, and Brad's going on the plan of adding bigger threat density as opposed to
way more threats.
But he's taking out important utility Flexots as well.
So
blocking Ballistas in the list, any life gain lands.
Yeah, we saw the lack of life gain land be pretty relevant there.
Yeah.
He probably could have found a way out of game 2 if he had any life gain lands in his deck. And no life gain lands is definitely a pretty aggressive choice, I would say. I mentioned that Amulet Titan needs to be prepared to beat Burn if it wants to beat Burn, and I think showing up without any life gain lands is kind of disrespectful. You play like 28 lands, just slap a Kabir Crossroads or a Radiant Fountain in your deck, and it looks like Brad uses the white mana for the flashback on the Gifts Ungiven there, so I would really like to see Unburial Rites, for the flashback on Unburial Rites, so I would really like to see a Kabir Crossroads somewhere on the list. I think there's got to be some room you can find in there, and maybe Brad's trimming on lands to make that happen.
He's only playing 28.
Well, 28's pretty normal.
Yeah.
28, 29 is about the number that you see out of most decks, so I think that you should be able to find room there. Yeah. But regardless, I want to take a moment to talk about where you're watching this. We are Pairodice Games, and Pairodice Games is located in Bellingham, Washington. So if you're anywhere in the greater Seattle area, we highly recommend you guys come and check us out. We are also Pairodice_Games on Twitch and Pairodice Games on YouTube. So I highly recommend that if you guys are watching this on Twitch, to go check out the PodVod later on YouTube. If you miss any of the rounds tonight, or you want to go back and watch anything like that, go ahead and check us out on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, come check us out on Twitch. We're live every Monday and Friday, and newly adding Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time here. So really appreciate it for all of you guys that come and check us out. We stream weekly Magic tournaments, and coming up on December 14th, we're actually hosting a Pioneer 1K. So the Pioneer 1K will be paying out in cash. So I'm really looking forward to that, and we will be streaming the entire thing, so I think it's going to be a super fun day. There's going to be a lot of people here. You can pre-register online. If you just go to that Magic Events tab, you can see on your screen right there, and I highly recommend you do that. We have a cap of about 48 players, I believe, so I expect it to fill, so I really think you should pre-register if you're interested in playing. If you can't make it for whatever reason, like I said, we will be streaming the entire event, so make sure to check it out. If you guys have Amazon Prime and you are not using your Twitch Prime subscription. It helps us out a bunch. If you go ahead and link your Twitch Prime, you get a free subscription. You just get to have to link your Amazon account, and then you can use one of those a month. And if you use it on our stream, it really means a lot to me. It helps me be here. It helps us keep the streams running for you guys. It really lets us know that you are enjoying and supporting it. So really big fan of everybody who does that. You guys mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for that. With that, we're going to leave you with some capacity, and we will be back with a second match for the round, or we'll be right back with round number 3. Regardless, we won't be gone for very long, so make sure you don't go anywhere. Okay, cool. Alrighty, welcome back. We are still in round number 2 here. We've got Nathan and John, I believe, presumably going to a game number 3 here. We've got is this a little bit of a blue moon mirror of sorts, I see?
No, it's Fairy Moon and Spicy Moon. Can't you read?
It looks like blue moon mirror to me. We've got Relic of Pairodice here on the first turn from John, and Nathan leading things off with a Flooded Strand. There's Spiral of Canal off the top for John. Interesting to see how this is going to play out. I can definitely see why this is the last match we had going on.
Yeah.
Here is a Spiral of Canal. What, is that a Kiki Jiki in John's hand? Okay, so I see how these two decks are differing already. I'm not certain that the Kiki Jiki plan is really one that you're going to want to go for in this mirror. it feels like your opponent's always going to have mana up, and they're always going to have a lightning bolt or something similar.
Always some way to react to the combo.
But it does definitely give you some sort of inevitability where, it definitely puts the fear of God or whatever in Nathan, where if I tap out for Jace on turn 4, am I going to die? Because it's not like Force of Negation is able to interact with this. So, Relic of Progenitus kind of just doing its job here, slow and steady. Here is... is that Tectonic Edge? I'm not even certain what land that is. It might be like an Evolving Wilds of some kind. I'm really not sure. But looks like it's Grixis Panorama. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this one since Commander Precons, I don't think. But
that's Evolving Wilds.
Yeah, and it looks like that is a Fairy Seer there from John. Gonna go ahead and get Lightning Bolted. Fairy Seer, new card from Modern Masters, I believe. So, or not Modern Masters, Modern Horizons. Excuse me. A 1-mana 1/1 when it enters the battlefield. Scry 2. Looks like it was top for John, which is a little awkward with this Grixis Panorama in play. Means that we probably aren't going to have the time to be able to go and find a colored source in the meantime. So that being said, it looks like both players not super worried about Blood Moon. Makes a lot of sense. I doubt that Blood Moon's in either player's deck in the post board here. So Nathan kind of fearlessly fetching out Double Stomping Ground here. Grixis Panorama probably. Yeah, I'm sorry. Double Steam Vents there. Grixis Panorama, probably not going to get punished. I imagine John will have plenty of time to turn that into a colored source at some point here. And until he gets, bricked off on a Cryptic Command or something, it's not going to cost him anything. So,
can activate this Relic at the end turn. I'm really hoping he activates this Grixis Panorama.
Well, he did scry 2 to the top.
That's true.
So, it's pretty awkward. Obviously, he wants to draw this card, so... And it looks like that card's Serum Visions, so that's a pretty powerful scry too, if you get to know that you want that top card there, and then you get to look 2 more down. Of course, it begins to get awkward again here if we...
top.
If we top again, or even just one top, and then we won't get to be able to use our Grixis Panorama again, and then we'll have to, not spend our mana, and that's not the best feeling for sure, but we'll see how it goes. There was a Sulphur Falls in hand now for John, so... Both players kind of just taking turns developing their mana, trade a Fairy Seer for a Lightning Bolt. A slightly profitable trade there for John. He got a Scry 2 out of his 1-mana spell, whereas, Nathan just got to do it at instant speed. It's pretty much the only difference there. Of course, top means that essentially no real advantage was gained. And there's another top from John.
Man, this guy's deck is insane.
Yeah, he's just got perfect on top every time. He's also got the requisite mana to be able to cast his Kiki Jiki as soon as he cracks the Grixis Panorama. So that's another thing that is definitely going to be in Nathan's mind here. Like, right now, if Nathan untaps and taps out, he could die. With given the state of the game. So that's pretty scary, and it's definitely going to play on Nathan's ability to really... do something effective this game. And here we see end step Archmage's Charm. This is presumably just going to be nice end step divination here from Nathan. Draw 2 cards. Probably not worth fighting over. You don't really want to tap out going into Nathan's turn 4.
Absolutely.
Because then he can just play Jace with no fear, right? Or something like that. So that's definitely very scary. We'll see what he elects to do here. Also, the clock, a pretty big factor currently,
Yeah, 4:40.
Yeah, we're approaching the land of these players are going to draw here pretty fast. So we'll hopefully see both of these players pick up the pace a little bit and try and, get an end to this round. I don't think either player wants a draw here.
No, it's never fun to draw, especially at just a weekly.
Yeah, for sure. Mystic Sanctuary. John's going to go ahead and give this one a reader. This has been one of the most impactful cards out of Throne of Eldraine, believe it or not, in these Eternal formats. It's made a huge impact in Legacy. It's making big splashes in Modern as well, and even seeing a good bit of Pioneer play here and there when applicable. Of course, it's less good there because you don't have your fetch lands to find it when you want, but
tragic.
Pretty good. It looks like Archmage's Charm going to be the selection. Just going to get slapped right back on top of Nathan's deck. that's pretty powerful. And, all it's going to do is ensure that Nathan isn't flooding out. So, not too bad. And we will notice a quick time extension there got put onto this match because we did steal these players from their table and bring them into the feature match area. So, we don't want them to lose time for that. So,
correct.
Give them a quick 5-minute extension. It's probably a little generous, but
they're gonna need it.
Yeah, but we don't want players to not want to come to the feature match area because obviously we'd rather bring you more content than a waiting screen. As good as this Cat Passy or a Hot Damn Scandal is, Magic the Gathering is what we're here for. So
that's what we're here for.
There's another no activation because John wants to draw the top card of his library. It's another Sulphur Falls. Notably, no end step shenanigans there from John. I believe John is missing the other piece of his Kiki combo currently. I think he has the Kiki Jiki. Well, he certainly has the Kiki Jiki, but he definitely is missing the Deceiver Exarch or Pestermite, whichever one he has. I would assume it's Pestermite, given that he's playing, the fairies version, so that definitely makes your spell starter sprites and all that better. Pestermite being a fairy rogue means that you can end up getting a little bit of extra value off of just having it in play sometimes. So here's End Step Snapcaster Mage from Nathan. Wonder what John's thinking about here. Presumably it hasn't resolved yet. This is one of those ones that's hard to fight over because End Step Snapcaster Mages really are a problem, but at the same time, if you try to fight right now, then your opponent can untap and slam Jace. So,
yeah.
I probably sound like a broken record with this untap and slam Jace thing, but that really is how these games play out.
Yeah, that is.
You keep your mana up.
That is a game-winning card.
Yeah, you pass the turn, and then you try to get them to tap out on their end step. That's how you play these mirrors, and it feels like you basically take turns instead of playing on your main phase. You just go back and forth playing on your opponent's end step, and it feels like the first one to flinch oftentimes loses. And here's Nathan with his patented target my light, snap bolt you. We see Nathan do this over and over again in these Blue Moon mirrors where he really values just tossing burn spells at your face, which is a super interesting take. We see him do it over and over again, and he keeps winning by doing it. So I there must be something to it. But it strikes me funny every time. And obviously, Lightning Bolt was the only real target there, and with a Relic of Progenitus in the play, you're probably not going to get anything huge out of it ever, so can't say I hate the decision or anything like that. So here is Serum Visions. It'll draw him into an island. Scry 2 top and bottom for Nathan. Send the turn on over. He's got his nice little Scalding Tarn in play. Cryptic Command, mana still up. Of course, he did not play his Jace the Mind Sculptor there. No reason to do so. He's got a nice Archmage's Charm still left in his hand, so if John goes ahead and goes back to his turn without doing anything impressive, then Nathan's just going to be able to draw 2 one more time, and he's going to feel pretty good about that Mystic Sanctuary doing that. So here's End Step Grixis Panorama activation. No, looks like going to reconsider that one. Looks like we're just going to take an untap here from John. Another Fairy Seer was the draw. So let's take a look at the top 2 cards. Not getting a good look at either of those, but we'll see what John wants to do with them. Looks like he's going to leave them there to take a think about it. I think that is a Braid and one other. I think the Abrade, it might be tempting. I mean, there is a Snapcaster Mage in play, but we're at 15. I think I'm willing to just let those go. Is that a Braid and... Is that Spell Stutter Sprite? Muddle the Mixture? Can you tell what that other card is?
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I'm not certain either.
Like, I just don't know the art of those 2 cards that you just listed. So.
Well, a Braid is the first one.
I meant...
a Braid. Oh, the other 2. Yeah, the
like, I just
Muddle the Mixture, Spell Stutter Sprite.
I've never played with those cards, so I've never cared to learn them.
Yeah, I'm reasonably confident that it is not Spell Stutter Sprite, but I will admit I might be a little rusty on my fairies, so that could easily be a fairy that I'm not certain of.
As you should be.
Yeah, should be rusty on my fairies. Yeah. It's not Bitter Blossom, and I don't think it's Spell Stutter Sprite. I got Fairy Seer right. I'm pretty happy about that one.
That's recent.
Yeah, that one is pretty recent. I played quite a bit of Limited with that one.
Yeah.
So usually my reason for knowing, random cards that I probably shouldn't is Limited, but I think this Fairy might be before my time really, where I really started playing a lot of Magic, so I confess I might not be certain what that one is. John's really thinking about this one, though. We'll see what he ends up doing. Looks like top and bottom is what he decides. I didn't catch which one went where, though, so...
John going through the draw here.
Yeah.
There goes the 5-minute
there goes the 5-minute time extension. Yeah, the pace of play here is definitely important. And, we can see Nathan, kind of trying to make a point of that, with, here we go, end step a lightning bolt and then I would expect a nice Archmage's Charm to follow this up, or if he has another Snapcaster Mage.
Another Snap Bolt?
Another Snap Bolt seems like a pretty good choice. John deciding if he can choose to take 3 here. What do we got going on now? I'm not certain what this card is. That might be a Spell Stutter Sprite. Might be a different art that I'm not used to.
That card's fake.
But, I think it costs 2... Scion of Una. Flash flying. Other fairy creatures you control get +1/+1. Other fairies you control have... I believe that's hexproof. Sorry, our notes is right over that one, unfortunately. So, give us 1 second. But assuming it says hexproof... Have Shroud. It says Shroud. All right. So, this will counter the Lightning Bolt, assuming it resolves. So, seems pretty good.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, end step rattle chains type deal.
Yeah.
So, pretty effective choice here from John. And we'll see if this is enough for Nathan to pull the trigger. He does have that Archmage's Charm, so he could go ahead and, deploy counter target spell on the Scion of Una, and I expect we're going to see that. This is basically a 2-for-1. It's going to counter your Lightning Bolt effectively. It's probably, allow the Fairy Seer to trade with Snapcaster Mage, and then he's going to be left with a 2-1 flyer. And it also makes all of his other creatures bigger. Seems good enough to prompt a response to me. And also, if you try and fight now, and then John has one more spell, then you've just given the green light to untap with your Jace and all that. So, I think I'm pretty happy to go ahead and deploy this Archmage's Charm from Nathan's seat. Looks like he will do just that. So we'll see if John has a follow-up to the known spell in Nathan's hand, or if this was just all something that John foresaw and was okay happening. So that could have been why this turn took so long from John, as all of these events were definitely telegraphed. But that being said, we are approaching time in the round rapidly.
This is still John's turn.
Yeah.
15-15 all.
Nobody's clearly ahead.
Charm out of Nathan's hand is good, because now the Scalding Tarn did not get a Mystic Sanctuary, and he misses that value right there.
Definitely true. I mean, he could have gotten Mystic Sanctuary right there.
He could have.
But, that might have also prompted a Relic of Progenitus thing. So it looks like that's all going to happen, and I assume we'll see Nathan untap here. So...
Is he looking to do something else? What's he got?
Well, you got 10 seconds on the clock if you can milk 10 more.
Looks like we're just going up.
Looks like end step activate Relic of Progenitus. So
to draw a card?
Yep. Just going to go ahead and...
That's time in the round!
End step this. Going to get a cycle. And then I assume we'll go to Nathan on turn 1. I'd be pretty surprised if this game ends. I'll say that much.
It will end.
In a draw?
In a draw.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a draw here. Unless, and Nathan will likely just slam his Jace here, and, that might be enough for John.
He drew Young Pyromancer. That ends games.
That's true. I'm not certain we're only going to have 2 more attack steps here on turns 2, or on turns 3 and 5, as Nathan was turn 1 there. So, 2 more attack steps for Nathan means that I don't think that he's going to be able to get there, but he doesn't need too many more spells to be able to do it. I mean, as is, we have 4 power, and, if one spell gets us a 5th power, so we're going to need to find... We basically need 2 attacks for 7, so... yeah, we do need to cast a lot of spells on the next 2 turns, actually.
Correct.
Yeah, to be able to get there, so...
Yeah, but it's still possible.
It is possible. Lightning Bolt, of course, does quite a bit. So this is end step Cryptic Command, draw card, bounce your island, I assume. That's going to get remanded, so it's going to go back to Nathan's hand. But, Nathan does still get the token out of the deal, which is presumably what he was going for. He's really just digging for Lightning Bolt. So this is turn 3 now. Here's an attack for 5. John has a Magmatic Sinkhole in his hand that I don't believe he can cast. He only has...
Was it cost 6 or 7?
It costs 6 total.
Okay, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So, like, a nice end step Grixis Panorama activation could potentially get him there when he untaps. Or if he just has any spell, he could do it on his next turn. But regardless, 1 mana activation is not going to be able to, accelerate into the Magmatic Sinkhole. So, looks like John's probably just going to be forced to take the 5 here, unless he has another play. Oh, he does have that Abrade. So Abrade Young Pyromancer. Here comes Cryptic Command. Counter. And probably just draw. Because we do need to find that Lightning Bolt to really be able to win. So here's an untapped Elemental token. Still an attack for 5 here. Looks like counter and draw. It will resolve. Mystic Sanctuary, the draw. That's a pretty good one. Of course, he still needs to find Lightning Bolt, so I think he probably actually can't put Cryptic Command back on top of his deck, because that is not lethal. So I expect...
Is that a May ability on Mystic Sanctuary?
It is a May.
Okay.
It is a May. So probably not going to be able to do that, and not enough mana for Jace means that no more looks there either. Next turn, he can Jace and dig. He's got an attack for 6, so he has set up a way for Lightning Bolt to be lethal, if he can find one. And he'll get 4 looks with the Jace. Oh, here's Spell Pierce on your Serum Visions. So Nathan just taking the opportunity here to snap off a spell and get a token.
Get a token.
Yeah. He needs to have a 2-mana spell that he can cast during his opponent's turn here to be able to find lethal, and I'm not certain that he has one. Although I see Jace the Mind Sculptor and one other in hand. I'm not certain what his other spell is.
Me neither. But Jace has a lot of spells.
Yeah, Jace has a lot of looks, but he needs one that deals direct damage, unfortunately. Oh, and Lightning Bolts off the top for John means that I don't think that Nathan's going to be able to find the win, but maybe he'll be able to put himself in a commanding enough position on turn 5 to be able to say, yep, like, for John to be able to say, yeah, that's good enough for me, I was dead next turn, or all that. So we'll see if that is good enough. And Magmatic Sinkhole, the Snapcaster Mage, means that Nathan down to a measly 3 power. Now Nathan's basically going to have to find Bolt here to be able to find lethal. So Brainstorm here. He'll look at 3 cards, 1, 2, and 3.
None of those are Lightning Bolts.
None of them are Lightning Bolts. You said it. Thing in the Ice, Snapcaster Mage, lands. Not going to be able to find lethal. So that is going to be the game ending in a draw, unless a player decides to concede for whatever reason. I do believe that Nathan's in quite an advantageous position.
And John seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, it looks like there's the handshake. We'll have to get confirmation from the producer as to what the end result of that match is. But it looks like it is just going to be a draw, which, looks about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we expected that one to happen, so with that, we will leave you with Hot Damn Scandal and a very short break. We will be back for a third and final round of the night just after this quick break. We will not be gone long, so don't go anywhere.
Magic the Gathering.
The bottom fell out of the clouds today, and the rain came down like a mirror. One big sheet and it shattered on the ground. Now it's 7 years of bad luck all over this town. It's collection time on all of your debts, and you can't get by just talking. Your smile don't work and your car don't start, and your doors ain't keeping you alone. No, not even if you lock them. No, not even if you lock them. When you're tapped into that bit of vein, just about anything feels good. The sun tried shining on a lost boy's eyes. They reflected oh so pretty, but it's cold behind them golden shores, and the sweet light wasn't nothing more than their own damn wishing, 'cause they just don't listen. Now wish on your candles, pray to your God, cry for your mama, put $1 on the bar. It feels like breathing, but the only good feeling ain't a gamble is a sin. So I think I'll play it safe and get a gin. I'll take the devil for a spin. When you're tapped into that bit of vein, just about anything feels good. For some the morning brings another day, but all it does for me is shine an ugly light around in the room that I've been hiding in. Now I take the easy way, yeah, that gets harder every day, but I ain't here to fix myself. I'm just trying to blind these eyes from hell. When you're tapped into that bit of vein, just about anything feels good. I like to swim at the bottom of the barrel. I like to sleep in hidey holes and barroom stalls. I like to hear the piano playing in the bloody little dawn. I like to wake up with the devil and drink him till he's gone. The queen is drunk and someone armed the pawns. Oh, the truth they say is an acquired taste, a vice I've never thought to own. There is no clean air left, so we filter it through cigarettes. But the gambler's mercy keeps us blind and fade.
Oh. Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome back to the third and final round for tonight. We have Patrick versus Soren. Patrick playing humans. Soren on a little bit of Niv Mizzet. I believe that this is the Niv Mizzet Reborn deck, the five color Niv Mizzet deck. It was floating around for a little bit, not too long ago in Modern. I remember, was kind of came to be during the like Hogak era, and has since kind of fallen off for whatever reason. I don't know. It feels like sort of a deck of the past. But that being said, I think that if this deck manages to get its mana from under it, this seems like it could be a quite bad matchup for humans.
Yeah. Also, I would like to note out, doing air quotes, Fisherman Tribal. Patrick was laying out a very nice smile face for us when we got there with his opening 7.
True. It looked good. But it looks like that opening 7, however, did not look good. We're going to take a look at 6 cards. This one looks bad, too, to be honest.
There's a lot of lands in this humans deck, apparently.
We're probably going to have to keep it. It's probably better than your average 5, but assuming that Soren's hand is functional, which it looks like he decided to keep a 7-card hand, so it most likely is, I expect him to be pretty favored. This deck features a whole slew of removal spells, such as Lightning Helix, kind of the big one against this humans deck. It's going to buy you a lot of time, and they're also super varied, so cards like Meddling Mage hopefully won't give Soren a huge hassle. So we'll see if he manages to, get his mana under him, play some accelerants and all that stuff, and, try and make sure that he can cast all of his spells. Looks like he's starting things off with Snow-Covered Forest. Arkham's Astrolabe, a centerpiece for this deck, really brings the whole thing together. It feels kind of awkward to have to play so many basics in this strategy when, you're a 5-color deck.
Exactly.
But the Arkham's Astrolabes really do make it worth it. It's super important, allows you to really cast your spells. However, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, probably one of Patrick's better threats here. It's definitely going to slow Soren down quite a bit, unless he has a creature threat on turn 2, which is highly uncommon.
Yeah, highly unlikely.
Yeah, and here's a Prairie Stream from Soren.
That looks like an
irrigated farmland. That's one that I would not expect to see in this deck. I'm not certain why we're playing a blue-white cycling land. I feel like we've got to have better choices in our 5-color deck to be able to cast our spells, but who knows? Now we're just holding up a nice Lightning Helix here. Of course, we're going to have to spend 3 mana for it on Patrick's turn due to the Thalia, but we can cast it due to our Arkham's Astrolabe. So Lightning Helix your Thalia. Go ahead and gain 3 life, Will Soren. And you'll have to excuse the Gatherer search here, just showing up as white. I do believe that our production's working on a fix, but for now, just go ahead and ignore it. If you have any questions on the cards being played, go ahead and just ask us. More than happy to tell you the text on any of the cards in play. So you'll have to excuse the technical difficulties for a moment. Let's take a step back and look at the way the game is progressing. Soren with a handful of relevant spells. Just going to go ahead and hold up interaction here. Patrick basically stuck on Meddling Mage and lands. Finds a Kitesail Freebooter for turn, though. That's a pretty good one. That'll allow him to take a piece of interaction from Soren's hand and then also be able to Meddling Mage another one. Oh boy. That's a pretty big hand. So, 2 Niv Mizzet Reborns, I believe, are the 2 cards on the left there. And then I believe that is Abrupt Decay, Lightning Helix, Ice Fang Quaddle?
Yeah, it looks like it.
I'm not certain what the middle card is there. This 5-color deck, Soren looks like he's got a bunch of altars on his cards there, so
Soren's cards are always
makes it a little harder to see on our end what all the cards are, which is unfortunate, but I do promise you they look very sweet in paper. Soren's a big fan of these like borderless altars and all that type of thing, so we'll see what Patrick ends up taking. Looks like he's still just tanking on it. Okay. Boy, Patrick really debating how he's going to be able to deal with this.
Looks like we still have a bit of the gather in front of our screen. So give us a moment while we pull up another stream.
Yeah. Going through multiple technical difficulties here, but doing our best to get it all figured out. So there we are.
Looks like that's cleared up a little bit.
All right. So looks like Patrick took a spell. I didn't quite catch which spell it was. Looks like Meddling Mage going to die to drown in the lock.
That looks like that's what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that's what that is. And I must have been mistaken about the Ice Fang Quaddle, because that was the card that Patrick took, so it must be a different card. My mistake. Arkham's Astrolabe off the top. Oh no, this is an Ice Fang Quaddle. Looks like just a main phase Ice Fang Quaddle. Oh, Patrick took the Lightning Helix, excuse me. But I expect that Meddling Mage just came down and named Niv Mizzet Reborn and is just going to force Soren to use a removal spell. I can't imagine Patrick feels ahead right now.
I would not.
Yeah. Patrick just went ahead and cast a main phase Soren, just went ahead and cast a main phase Ice Fang Quaddle. Doesn't want to deal with any, Meddling Mage off Aether Vial shenanigans or anything like that. Notably, does play into Reflector Mage by doing this, so that's kind of an issue, but all things considered, not too bad.
It's just all lands.
Yeah. So.
And he's been playing a land every turn. That's not what you want to be doing when you're playing humans.
Yeah, he's flooding out really hard, and, we notice he also already cycled a Horizon Canopy this game, so he's really just flooding out super hard, and this, Swamp here coming in off the Prismatic Vista means that Niv Mizzet Reborn is now online. And a 6/6, it's huge, it's a 6/6 flyer, it draws multiple cards. I don't think we're going to see Patrick play this game for too much longer. Here's Abrupt Decay, that'll take out the Kitesail Freebooter, get Soren back his Lightning Helix. Of course, one of the better answers. Patrick still with just lands in hand. There's a land off the top for Soren. He's probably pretty happy about that one. Here comes Niv Mizzet Reborn, and here come the top 10 cards of Soren's library. So obviously he will get one of each guild color combination.
That's an Oko.
Jeez. So looks like we are getting Oko. Is that Garna the Bloodflamed? I'm not certain what that one is. So we are getting Oko, Izzet Charm, Nahiri, Assassin's Trophy, and whatever that, I assume it's black-red, but I'm not entirely sure what card it is. I think it might be Garna, but regardless, that's enough for Patrick. We're done here. I tend to agree. There's no way Patrick can beat any of that, so let's go ahead and take a look at these sideboards here. Over on Patrick's side with humans, he's got 2 Deputy of Detention, 2 Izzet Staticaster, 2 Auriok Champion, 2 Dismember, 2 Knight of Autumn, 2 Collector Oof, 1 Gaddock Teague, and 1 Damping Sphere. What sounds good here?
I don't have a clue.
Yeah, like none of it. Yeah. I just don't think Patrick's deck can really ever beat what Soren's doing, assuming that Soren's doing the thing. I mean, we just saw just a slew of 2-mana removal spells, all with different names, all of which interact profitably against Soren's deck. And I think that Patrick wondering right now, what on earth am I supposed to do against this?
Like, you could
Auriok Champion maybe dodges most of the removal, probably.
Yeah.
Boy.
Good list. All right.
Other than that, I don't know about any of this. All right. Let's take a look at Soren's side. Soren has 1 Cabal Console of Allocation, 2 Lavinia Azorius Renegade, 1 Expansion Explosion, 1 Drown in the Lock, 2 Ashiok Dreamrender, 2 Unmoored Ego, 1 Dovin's Veto, 1 Damping Sphere, 1 The Scarab God, 1 Kaya Orzhov Usurper, and 1 Fracturing Gust. So this one's a little easier. The Drown in the Lock is quite good. Yeah. It's another cheap removal spell.
I'm a pretty big fan of the Scarab God.
The Scarab God looks like it could be good. I can see the Scarab God being good.
He has a bunch of 2-mana removal spells. He gets a bunch of creatures in the bin.
And just try and play something big and dumb on turn 5 that really clogs up the board. I could see that being good. I also like the Kaya Orzhov Usurper. Pretty cleanly deals
creature with CMC 1 or power
target
1?
Permanent with CMC 1.
Okay.
So we can deal with Aether Vial. We can deal with Champion of the Parish, Noble Hierarch. All those seem like great hits. And when it's not doing that, it's just going to be gaining you life. So, and Patrick might feel obliged that he needs to attack it. So pretty big into that one. Pretty big into Drown in the Lock, though. Those are the only ones that really stand out to me. And like I said, if you have room for like a Scarab God, that could easily find its way in the deck as well.
Yeah, if you have just a bad card that you're willing to get rid of for the 3rd pick.
Yep, totally. And then Other than that, I think that's pretty much all that Soren is going to want here. So a little bit of light sideboarding from both players means that without some like real haymakers coming in out of Patrick's sideboard, I think assuming that Soren, makes his mana like he did that game, it's going to be really hard for Patrick.
Soren's hand looked really clean that game.
Oh yeah, it looks really, really good.
That was probably the nuts.
That game was never close.
Yeah.
Never close to being close. And yeah, Patrick's hand looked pretty subpar, obviously, with the large excess of lands compared to the ideal. But that game was not. That was let's not be quaint here. That was the least close game we've seen all night on stream. And if we see another game like that, I think that we will be going home early tonight.
Yeah.
And Patrick's going to need a fast start with a lot of disruption to be able to really get through this, and he's probably going to have to hope that Soren kind of misses, I think, in order to be able to really effectively take down this match. So
like the Nif Mizzet deck probably loses it to itself a fair amount of times.
Oh, it has to. I mean, it's a 5-color deck, and we saw how many basics it's playing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a 5-color deck with a bunch of basics because it doesn't want to hurt itself too much, and you really want to try and support Arkham's Astrolabe and Icefang Quaddle. So that's definitely something that is going to hurt the deck quite often. So that being said, it is built to prey on decks like humans. I mean, you've just got infinite removal spells, infinite ways to deal with what's going on. They're all diversified threats. They're all diversified answers. So let's see how it goes here. Looks like Patrick's going to keep his 7-card hand this time. Soren taking a look at his looks pretty land heavy to me, but it does have at least one answer there. Looks like he has an Abrupt Decay, I think, in the back of his hand. It could have been Assassin's Trophy, but something like that. All right, here is Forest and Arkham's Astrolabe. I'm pretty inclined to keep any hand with Arkham's Astrolabe in it. In this deck, I would think.
The keystone to your mana.
Yeah, it's super important. Here's Noble Hierarch, right on time for Patrick. Yeah, right on turn 2. This is, I know what card that is.
Is that Desert?
No, it's 1 tap, add 2 color. It taps to add. It's 1 tap, add 2 of different colors, only for multicolored spells. So, Pillar of the Perunes. Pillar of the Perunes. That is the card.
That card's like $30.
Is it?
It was when this deck was popular.
Oh yeah, that's pretty surprising. But yeah, I believe it. It's a pretty uncommon one. I think it's a rare, so yeah, it's probably got thrown out a lot. And this is the first deck where it really found a home. Another pretty important piece for your mana. It really lets you cast your spells because, of course, every spell in your deck is a 2-color multicolor spell. So,
exactly.
2 or more colors, but most of the time it's 2. So
Utopia Sprawl.
Yeah, Utopia Sprawl, another way that the deck tries to gain an advantage and fix its mana. Obviously, the deck's kind of split up into your 4 Niv Mizzets, your slew of removal spells, and then ways to be able to ways to be able to cast all of your spells. Because
looks like we're naming white with that Utopia Sprawl.
Yeah, so white makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of removal spells in white, so not super surprised on that one. I believe Soren's hand right now is it Charm and
is
that Bring Delight? I believe that is Bring Delight.
Oh my god, I love Bring Delight.
Yeah, so looks like Patrick's just going to go ahead and take one of each. He's just going to go ahead and take both of those, Bring Delight and Is It Charm. And now that leaves Soren with just lands. So Patrick's definitely kind of building a house of cards here, and one removal spell is going to bring the whole thing down, but Soren with just a Snow-Covered Plains means that it's not going to happen yet, and now Patrick can start attacking. It's not a fast clock, but it's a clock, so it is a plan. Here's Deputy of Detention off the top. I wonder if Patrick's going to get aggressive and try and Deputy of Detention down those Arkham's Astrolabes. Definitely don't love that. Here comes Phantasmal Image. He'll copy another Kitesail Freebooter. It'll take nothing. No targets there. Oh, excuse me, that is Unsettled Mariner, not Deputy of Detention. So
okay.
Now we've got a little bit better of a clock now. Here's an attack for 2. Soaring down to 21. We now have 5 points of damage a turn. Much, much faster than before. A Breeding Pool off the top. Patrick will know that was the card for turn, so that's got to be a relief. And Soren's probably just pretty bummed out that he keeps just drawing lands, so Here's Patrick going to go ahead and try and cycle through his deck with the Horizon Canopy. It'll just turn itself into an island, so not too exciting. He's got a Thalia and a Reflector Mage. So I'll expect to see the Thalia come down this turn. Unfortunately, not enough mana for Reflector Mage, but otherwise I'm sure Patrick would probably just be casting it. You just need to
get the body
You just
out
need
there.
to go. And this is how Patrick can win these games. Take your, basically brick off the last 2 cards in your hand, and then you hope that you just miss. And, ooh, I think that's Niv Mizzet. If that is in fact Niv Mizzet, then that's a good one. That's going to stabilize the board and draw Sorin presumably a slew of answers. So Sorin making sure he has the correct mana here. Looks like red, blue, white, black, green. Yep, that's correct. Utopia Sprawl, of course, getting him the white. There's some Lightning Helix, Abrupt Decay. I'm not certain what that one is. Ice Fang Quaddle, Assassin's Trophy. Oh yeah, that's a lot of removal spells. Alright, so looks like we're going to get Lightning Helix, Assassin's Trophy, Ice Fang Quaddle. We're taking Abrupt Decay, not the Assassin's Trophy. And then I'm not certain... Oh, is that the Kaya's Guile, I believe, is that card as well. It is Kaya's Guile. So, yeah, that's just 4 removal spells, basically. So, we talked about Patrick's House of Cards, and I believe it is coming crumbling down now. I mean, notably Sorin can't cast any of those spells because of the Thalia in play. So Patrick's going to get one more good attack here. He's got Reflector Mage. He can get that Niv Mizzet out of the way, and then he can just, turn all my creatures sideways and, hope that you DC.
Yeah.
Hope that Sorin just disconnects from the IRL game.
It's not enough
it has
damage.
a heart attack. It's not enough damage. It's not going to be able to pressure him. It looks like Patrick's not attacking with his 2 Kitesail Freebooters. Of course, he knows about the Ice Fang Quaddle, so he's not willing to let that one go. I think the Unsettled Mariner may be one that he could have left behind as well, because between that and Thalia, he really taxes Sorin's mana, but Sorin able to trade with that Unsettled Mariner there means that now he's just got 8 mana, and he's going to have to spend 3 mana on his first removal spell to get rid of Thalia, but after that, he's just going to be able to, probably gun down 3 more of Patrick's creatures, or at least 2 more.
Get another Bring to Light, cast a big creature.
Yeah. Get a Bring to Light, go get another Niv Mizzet, or go get a Niv Mizzet with a Bring to Light, but probably that's not even a priority, right? Like,
no.
We're just going to cast a bunch of removal spells. 2 lands in hand for Patrick means that these cards in play are going to have to get the job done, and they are not going to get the job done against Sorin's hand of just, 3 or 4 removal spells, plus all of the removal spell, plus the spells he's going to draw off the Kitesail Freebooters dying.
And the next Niv Mizzet hitting the
floor.
Yeah,
and then he'll untap and play another Niv Mizzet. It's going to be rough. So I expect to see Abrupt Decay taking out the Thalia first things first. Looks like that will in fact happen. There goes Thalia. And now Sorin, of course, free to cast the rest of his spells. He has 5 mana now, so a little awkward. He won't be able to cast 3 removal spells, only 2 more. I'd expect to see, Kaya's Guile, Lightning Helix. It's the most mana efficient, but of course the Kaya's Guile is effectively just going to get rid of Noble Hierarch. Not super in love with that. Alright, here is Lightning Helix. We're going to have to tap slightly differently for that. He has some Arkham's Astrolabes over there, though. Here is... Looks like we're just going to go ahead and float all of our mana. So here is the white off the Utopia Sprawl plus the Mountain. We'll go ahead and take down that, putting an Izzet Charm back in his hand. And then Astrolabe's going to fix for the Izzet Charm, which is going to take out, the Phantasmal Image. And, yep, we're done here.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, like we said, that looked pretty one-sided. I don't know how Patrick's ever supposed to beat that, really.
And Sorin just had a very medium hand.
Yeah, I mean, Sorin functioned both games, and that I don't think that that's nothing for this deck. It is not just nothing to function. We didn't see him mulligan either game. He had Arkham's Astrolabe both games, which we talked about being really important. And he did play Niv Mizzet both games. And, that is definitely, those three things are the, checkboxes you need to hit to be able to really, slam the door on these aggressive creature-based decks. But, I mean, I look at Soren's configuration. It's just, there's just no way you can ever lose to this type of deck with a configuration like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, you're never going to lose to it. You're always going to have 5 removal spells. You're always going to be able to refuel. You're always going to be able to slam that door on these aggressive creature decks. And, if Patrick had showed up with Storm or something, I bet we would have seen Soren have a pretty hard time trying to deal with some sort of combo, because it doesn't look like he's super well equipped to deal with that, especially in game 1. Post board, he's got quite a few more tools to deal with it, but game 1 looks pretty rough for that type of strategy.
Exactly.
But humans, I don't think we stand a chance.
I don't think there's a way he loses.
Yeah. All right. So with that, I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsor for the night, Die Hard Dice. Die Hard Dice is the best in dice for any type of tabletop RPG or, war game, that type of thing. They're awesome. They're metal. They feel really good. They're, in my opinion, just the best dice in the business. So if you're looking for a Christmas present for yourself or anyone else in your D&D group, anything like that, Die Hard Dice, definitely the one to go for. They're great every time, awesome gift, and I know that we have some in-store, and they're even on sale currently, because we have a store-wide sale going on, so 20% off. So if you're looking for any type of gift for yourself or anyone else, I highly, highly recommend Die Hard Dice. They are the best in the business, and they look super cool, so thank you so much to Die Hard Dice for supporting the stream. With that, we will be leaving you for tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you missed anything, go ahead and check out the VOD on YouTube. It'll be up later. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure and come check us out on Thursday for our first night of Pioneer here that we'll be starting up weekly. So looking forward to that. I will be back then. James, thank you so much for joining me in the booth tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a blast to have you. With that, we're going to leave you with some some Hot Damn Scandal. And I'll be back on Thursday. We'll see you guys then.
Have fun.